All right, my friends, you know, one of the most important topics that we talk about here is mental health. And last month was Men's Mental Health Month. But here's the thing, we just don't need to talk about that 1 month a year. Men need to prioritize their mental health all the time. And so for a closer look at that, we have a very beautiful and familiar face. We have Counselor Jennifer Wolff here to help guide this conversation. So let's start talking about this. There really is a stigma for mental health, but especially when it comes to mental health in men.
Absolutely. Well, Whitney, thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure. Well, traditionally, men have been taught to be tough, to be strong, and so hiding your emotions is at the forefront. And really, if you're struggling or to ask for help, has been seen, sadly, as a sign of weakness. So there's the stigma and the stereotype that if you do this, and what has happened, sadly, is that the suicide rate is astronomically high in men. That I think the last stat was over 6 million men suffer from depression. There's all kind of mental, but they can't ask for help. So we have to make it more acceptable. We have to make it, normalize it, and generalize that it's okay. And they're human first.
Yes, it's absolutely okay to get help. And I think that that is something that we really want to drive home, a point we want to drive home, because we were looking at it even a few weeks ago. Not only are men not taking care of their physical health, but they're also, even greatly more so, not taking care of their mental health as well, which can be absolutely critical. So as a community, what can we do to push the needle when it comes to the conversation regarding men and mental health?
Right. Wonderful question. Well, just to raise awareness of what mental health is and what it isn't, by basically raising awareness, talking about it as it's a health issue. It's to self-care, that we're in a place of balance and that we're all here for each other. So I think that the more we talk about it in an informative, educated way, the better, the less stigma, the less, hey, this isn't about you being, you know, I work with the military, and I work with, and I have many male clients, and what I see across the board is people aren't going to accept this in me, or there's that shame involved. So we have to really start, because they're suffering.
They are, and suffering in silence. I mean, it's hard to imagine that. So we just need to make it more acceptable and have the conversation and really reiterate there is never any shame in getting help. Now, can you talk to this? Okay, so I have some male friends, and they tried counseling, and they didn't really jive or vibe with their first counselor, so they were like, oh, therapy is not for me. When in actuality, you know, counselors, therapists, it's not one size fit all. Sometimes you have to try a couple of different ones before you find the right one for you.
Right. Very good question. Well, you shop around until you find one. I always tell folks, you can hire me or you can fire me, because if I'm not helping you, then that's not okay. You're better than that. So keep trying until you find one that you feel gets you, and that you have that, this is a safe place. I'm comfortable with this human being. And if you're not, or you don't try to force it, it's okay. Just find another one.
Absolutely.
There's many of us out there.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that. You guys, we shop around for so much. Counselors and therapists need to be one of the things that we add on our list.
Absolutely.
That's exactly how I found my counselor. I went through a couple of them, and I think she was the third or fourth person. And I was like, oh, this is my girl. We're vibing. I love her. She's incredible.
Right.
And then my last question will be, what are some signs or symptoms that, hey, as a man, I probably need to go and talk to somebody?
Right. Well, because it's the hidden stigma and the shame, I always say too much or too little. If you're drinking too much, that where it becomes substance abuse is pretty prevalent, anger, because that pain is going to come out in some ways. So if you're just not functioning over, not sleeping well, not eating well, of course your basics. But if you're just, or if you hear it from other people, just out of general, hey, you all right? Or, you just don't seem like yourself. So to be very self-aware, what am I feeling in my body? What's going on in my mind? If I'm overthinking things, if I'm not being able to handle things that I have before, or I can do it if I'm drunk, that's just not healthy. There's so many ways to say what's really going on and find those healthy coping skills which are out there. And it's more, I want to say this too, Whitney, it's more than I'll just go to the gym, because I hear, I'll just go, there may be something chemical going on there. It's a holistic view of, it's not just going to the gym, really talking through and we being accepting of that and walking with men through that process.
I love that you said that, Jennifer. Thank you so much for bringing clarity to this topic and lifting the stigma around mental health and men's mental health. So we all have a role to play here. We all can be actively helping, making sure that everybody's making their mental health a priority. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about this. We appreciate you. Yes, absolutely. And my friends, as always, 988, that the Suicide Crisis Lifeline. If you or someone you know needs help, remember that's available 24/7.